Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment here with my co-host Manny for our March 2026 State of the Saga discussion.
So I'm Manny, and in these monthly update shows, we'll be talking about what we've been listening to, playing, reading, and/or watching, and probably also just general stuff that's going on with our lives and maybe even recent pop culture happenings.
Before we get started, just a heads up that you can follow me and therefore all of the Geek Saga endeavors at A Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Bandissimo Art.
Just a few house cleaning items before we dig in. First, thank you to any patrons who are joining us for the patron-only live stream version of this month's State of the Saga. Second, thank you also to any patrons watching the early release of the live stream recording. You guys are such a big part of helping us keep the lights on, so to speak, for Geek Saga Entertainment, and we truly appreciate each and every one of you and the support you give. Finally, if you're watching or listening to this recording once it's gone public, keep in mind that we record these approximately 2 to 2.5 weeks prior to their public release. And also, pretty please make sure to hit those like and or subscribe buttons. And if you're catching it somewhere where you can give it a rating, it would really help us out if you could mark it 5 stars. Also, if you aren't already part of our Patreon family, please check out our sponsorship options. For just $5 a month, you can watch these State of the Saga episodes live and get access to our show notes, while for just $3 a month, you get early access to these episodes and all of our podcast episodes, among some other fun content. Check it out at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
With all that out of the way, we're going to get into our discussion. We're going to kick this month's episode off with news and or general gossip.
I've only got a few small things here. To be honest, I didn't really have time to gather or think about newsy stuff that much this month or for this episode. But I did see, and I don't know exactly how recently this happened, but it might have been as recently as today, which is Tuesday, March 10th that we're recording this. Catherine Hahn, who plays Agatha in the Marvel shows, was cast as Mother Gothel in the live action Tangled. And we've gone on and on about our feelings about live action movies, but I am very much behind this casting. So there is, I love Catherine Hahn. And I've loved her for like a long time. I mean, I remember her being like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and stuff, the sort of like funny side character. And now she gets the sort of, I mean, I guess this is not technically, it's a leading lady, but not in the sense that Rapunzel is the real lead. Her in like the Agatha show and of course in WandaVision and stuff has been great, especially since she's, not old by any means, but she is not, an actor in her 20s or even early 30s. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about that casting. I like her a lot. Another thing is the, I think, final trailer, if not the final trailer this is such a mouthful. If not the final trailer for All Mankind, it's definitely it's only the second full length one that I've seen came out a week or two ago. The next season of For All Mankind starts airing later this month. I believe it's March 27th. I cannot fucking wait. I love this show. I've talked about it with you for sure so much as a BSG fan. Cannot go wrong with this show. It's so good. I cannot wait. And then did you see that Bruce Campbell, Evil Dead and a billion other things that he's been in, announced that he has a treatable but not curable form of cancer? So that's 2 fucking months in a row we have to say, ugh, fuck cancer,
Yeah, no, I did not know that. That's fucked up.
Yeah. And then my last newsy thing is that Netflix bowed out of the bidding war for Warner Brothers Discovery, and now it looks like Paramount Skydance might acquire them. Which I'm just about. Netflix, I was probably a little less about because they're kind of their own entity, right? It's not like Disney buying Warner Brothers Discovery or Paramount Skydance buying Warner Brothers Discovery. Still, it's just, how is this allowed? Where did our
monopoly laws?
Yeah. Yeah. And they always say it's like when you can't get cable internet from anybody but one person, they're like, well, that doesn't go against anti-monopoly laws because you can get internet from other providers. And it's like, I don't know, that's quality. I feel like if you're the only cable internet provider in an area, that is still technically a monopoly. And as much as I am a fan of certain things Disney, I have not been a fan of them buying up all the properties they've bought up necessarily. At least not to the extent they're going. So I guess at least it's not Disney, but at the same time, it's like, ugh, can we not with this?
You know, this is one of those things that I do appreciate. I know everyone likes to shit on capitalism, but this is one of those things I like about capitalism, and I'll tell you what it is the fact that we can have competition, because that's what makes products better. And now what we're seeing is with this, people buying Warner Brothers Discovery and all this stuff. It's like, so now we're just going to have this like corporate conglomerate of a few different networks and stuff, and they can just pump out shit at this point. I'll give you a great example. Look at like any Stellantis vehicle, right? So you're talking about all these car companies got together and they all bought each other out and they all did this. And then what do we have now? We have a slew of completely shit fucking vehicles that are overpriced. For the love of God, don't buy a new fucking car. Just buy one that's a few years old. You'll make out a lot better. And this is one of those classic examples of that. Once everybody starts buying each other out, then, you know, there's no competition. They're competing amongst themselves is what they're doing. And then we just get a bunch of garbage. Not even on top of that is that now it's going to be, I'm looking at it now and it's like, I'm glad that Netflix bowed out of it, because then it's like, well, now Netflix is going to have Warner Brothers Discovery 2 on their crap. So that means you're going to be paying another extra $5 or $20 just, you know, because that's part of the package deal now. Come on, guys. Like the whole point of the streaming thing was that it killed cable, you know, but that's how they always do it, right? Because they're like drug dealers. They're like, oh yeah, when Netflix came out, oh, it's $5 a month, man. You can watch whatever movies in our library. And everybody bought into that, ditched their cable. They were like, oh, this is so awesome. And I'm like, man, nah, I lived in the ghettos, man. I know how this works. They're just giving you the first one free is what they're doing. And then down the line, when there's no other alternatives, they're like, well, looks like it's going to be $20-$30.
I think my combo Disney, Hulu, Max, HBO, whatever the fuck it's called this month, that subscription has gone up like $4 in the past year. It went up from $29.99 to like $31.99, and then within like a few months or less, I think it was. I could be wrong about the timing, but then it went up to $32.99. But I was doing my taxes, and I was like looking at all of these charges, and technically I can write these things off because we podcast about them. We make a teeny tiny bit of money off of podcasting. I didn't end up writing it off for a lot of reasons, but like I was going through, you know, my accounts and everything and all the charges, and I saw the HBO, the combo Disney, Hulu, HBO went up twice in a 12-month period. The fuck, man? It's not by a ton. That shit adds up at the end of the day. So what if they go up twice again? And I'm not going to.
And they're going to, yeah,
because it's 3 networks and I watch a ton of stuff on them, but.
That's how they're going to do it. In essence, they're ushering in a new age of piracy is what they're doing. And
they're also ushering in a new age of cable TV.
Well, yeah, exactly. This is just going to make the pirates go crazy at this point, because now it's like, well, why am I going to pay $32? To me, like streaming services don't make sense because I don't watch a lot of stuff. The only thing that I do have is that I have like Amazon Prime, really. I mean, I have Netflix also, but everything else, like if we're doing House of the Dragon or something like that, like I get the subscription for 6 weeks and then I toss it, you know, because I'm like, there's nothing here that I'm watching. So I generally just stick to like Amazon. And I do have like Paramount just because of Star Trek. That's pretty much it, you know, because at least with the Amazon, I get free shipping.
Right.
You know?
And that's why I have Amazon Prime. I don't have it for their TV shit, especially now when it's ads. And sometimes you'll watch an episode and it'll be 2 or 3 ads in a row every 8 minutes or something. It's like, oh, you can watch it without ads if you pay for a premium. And I'm like, but I don't pay for Amazon Prime for the fucking TV. Like, yes, there's things on it that I like for sure, but I don't pay for it for the television stuff or even the movies.
You know what's the funny thing too is that everybody better sit down and buckle up. That's what I'm telling everybody like right now, because there are, obviously Tesla does it, BMW trying to do this, to where now there are certain features in your car that are going to be a subscription service. So the concept of subscription service is like here to stay, and it is going to spread like a cancer to absolutely everything now. Yeah. People don't realize like it's cheaper technically. Yeah. Okay, great. But like for a good example, I got into like video editing and they finally got that Final Cut Pro that was like a $300 program. And now they have it bundled with other stuff that you can pay $13 a month for. And I'm like, hey, that's great. But if I use this for 5 or 6 years, then I'm already in the hole and I'm just going to be paying for it forever at this point. And that's just part of my expenses now, as opposed to just buying the program, which they don't really make sequels to those programs. So it's like it would have just been updated forever. And it's like I kind of just would rather pay the $300, you know, like, and then that way I don't have to worry about monthly charges and all this kind of stuff. But we're starting to see that subscription service really, really go crazy. And in particular, in like, you know, with some of the stuff that I was reading earlier this week with like the automotive industry and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, wow, really? So the heated seats cost a subscription service?
Oh my God, really? Fuck that.
And it's stuff like that to where I'm like, guys, this is what I'm like.
My heated seats in my Jetta, the passenger side one works, but the driver's side one hasn't worked in like a while. And the dealership is the only place I can really get that fixed. And they want to charge me like $300 just to figure out what the problem is. And I was like, oh, fuck that. I don't need a heated driver's seat then. My passenger gets to have the heated seat, but I don't.
Yeah. So yeah, that the concept of the subscription service is here to stay, and it's absolutely terrible. I liked it for some things. It made sense to me. It's like with Adobe, right? This is like a battle I've gotten back and forth with people like Adobe. They're like, oh, we just wanted to buy the CS whatever. But the program is $800. And those programs have an end of life to them. So after 5 or 6 years, you're not going to get any more updates or any of that kind of stuff. And sometimes that's not really a bad thing, because if anyone who's used anything that is Microsoft in the past 2 years, that those people are bored as fuck and they're trying to justify their jobs by releasing updates. And all those updates are complete fucking garbage and ruin everything. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, if you're going to keep using like an older program, I guess. But I liked the concept of it because then you get like the latest stuff to it, latest updates and all that kind of stuff, which is good and bad, I guess. But
actually, Microsoft is one of those where I use Word for writing. So I have just paid the $70 a year for the Microsoft subscription for the past like probably 8 years or so since they started doing it, I think, because I was like, I do use it. I haven't used it as much the past couple of years, so I probably should have canceled it, but I'm kind of glad I didn't, because then they upped the subscription price and they didn't change it on me for a long time after they upped it. Like if you were a new subscriber, it was way more than it was for what I was paying. My subscription renewed in January. And they said like on X date, it's going to go, the subscription price goes up. I was thankfully still in the year where it was the time frame where it was like the lower subscription price, but mine is definitely going up next year. And I'm like, do I use it enough to justify this? Can I just use Google Docs? I don't know. Or something else. Do I really need Microsoft for writing? I don't. For work, I need it, but that work pays for work stuff. For personal stuff, I don't know that I really need to be paying for the subscription anymore.
Yeah. And it's wild because this has been the plan for a very long time. And I can tell you why when it comes to the subscription service, in particular with Microsoft. I was in a bar one night in Miami somewhere, South Miami somewhere, getting fucking wrecked. And I got into a conversation with my best friend's friends. And there was 3 guys and they worked for Microsoft. And that is when they started working on the concept of the subscription service. And I remember telling those guys, I'm like, there is no way in fucking hell that anyone is going to pay per month to use Excel or Outlook. I'm like, that is going to die so quickly. And then here I am eating fucking humble pie at this point because it's everywhere now.
Well, I don't know that maybe you can do it per month. I do it per year. So I'm not.
No, but it's the concept of the subscription service, right? Okay. Because back in the day, you could have bought Word 2015, right? And that Word is always going to be 2015 Word. You could still be using it today. You may not be getting the best updates and the file formats might be a little weird, but you can still use it today. And, and you paid $100 for that program back in 2015 or something, or 2012, right?
Or you could pirate it.
Exactly. Now it's like, nah, you're paying $70 a year forever for as long as you're using it.
I'm over it. Do you have any new stuff?
Yes, I do. So I heard that they are actually finally working on the script for Constantine 2. That's been in the rumor mill for probably a decade at this point. It's been forever that they've been talking about that. I wasn't crazy about some of these, like when they bring back things, but with it having Keanu Reeves in it, I'm like, you know what? Let's fucking do it. If we're going to be remaking shit all the time, and this isn't even a remake, it's a sequel, so it's like, this is great. I'm not even that worried about it, because honestly, after what they gave us with Bill and Ted 3, which people can shit on that movie till they're blue in their face, but I fucking loved that movie. I fucking loved it. It was the movie that I needed during the pandemic, and it was fantastic. And I'm like, you know what? When people like that come back to their roles, and they have like a sense of love for it. Because and that is the thing with like Keanu Reeves, is that when he comes back to a project, I don't feel like it's like a cash grab. The guy's got a bunch of money. He doesn't need a cash grab. He's not Nicolas Cage, So yeah.
Flashback to February.
Exactly. I don't know. So I think it's going to be cool and just something new, because I feel like movies have been lacking so much lately. Like I don't even know what's out anymore or anything like that.
Same.
And then also in other news, One Piece season 2 came out today, which I haven't watched. And I probably won't be able to get to watch till next week when I get done. But I am so pumped for that shit, man.
I didn't realize it came out today. For some reason, I thought it was later this week, but yay.
It came out today, man. And for those of y'all who have not heard my story, I was not into One Piece. I didn't like the animation. I didn't like the art. I just didn't like it. And then when it came out on Netflix, I got drunk one night and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch, because back then, this was probably like, I guess 2, 3 years ago. I used to just get wasted, watch a movie, and I would just kind of like do like a
Mhm.
rant review on Facebook of what I felt about whatever movie. And I always
Now
made
you
it
can
like,
rant here.
now I can rant here. Now I got a microphone now y'all got to listen to it.
Aha.
Aha. So I sat down to watch the show, man, and I just watched it for one intent. I'm gonna watch this for 10 or 20 minutes and take a complete shit all over it. Okay, I'm gonna go on Facebook and just bash this thing. Like I went in looking for a fight, and then I realized I was 4 episodes in, just binging, and didn't realize it. I was like, all right, this show is probably one of the funnest fucking shows I've watched in a fucking over a decade. Like, I mean, it was just so much fun. It's so ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's over the top. There's something that is just perfection behind it. And I got to talk to some of my friends who actually watched One Piece because I was curious. Hey, did you guys watch this? What did you think of it? And they were like, no, it's fucking great. And then I was like, I wish they would have done the same fucking thing for Cowboy Bebop before they fucked that up.
Yeah, we definitely went through this, like, if not February, in January, I think.
Probably in January. Yeah, it was the last time
I definitely remember. I definitely remember editing a very long One Piece discussion. Let's go on to our Reddit story. This is it's a little bit of a longish one because there's updates to this one. The title of this Reddit story is, "Am I the asshole for uninviting my dad's wife from my daughter's birthday party over something she did last year?" This is a very recent thing. Original post was made January 5th, 2026. OP says, "I don't usually turn to the internet for advice, but I feel like my situation is specific enough that my friends can't help me much. For context, my dad has been with Kathy, in quotes, so not her real name, I'm assuming, for a little under 15 years. She's technically his third wife, so she's always been very insecure about her place in his family, which has unfortunately led her to become very needy and histrionic. My daughter is turning 6 in February, and we're planning her birthday party. Last year, my husband and I threw her a Cinderella-themed party at our place. My dad showed up without Kathy, who had claimed to be sick. It didn't bother me, but I remember feeling something was off. Near the end of the party, Kathy showed up in a Cinderella costume. She was acting in character and trying to interact with the kids. Neither me nor my husband had been informed she'd be doing that. At most, she'd asked me whether we were hiring any party performers a few weeks prior. I later found out she'd been planning to surprise my daughter and bought the costume the day she found out what the theme would be. My husband and I are still positive Kathy did this for attention. It didn't really work. My daughter recognized her immediately, but it did disrupt things a little because she did this around the time the kids were eating cake and some of the parents were getting ready to leave. We managed to sort things out, but it took some time and we still had to deal with a dozen confused preschoolers. It was a great party besides that, and our daughter enjoyed herself, which is what matters most. But my husband and I asked Kathy not to do this again. She agreed and apologized. I'm pretty sure she's planning on doing it again. We spent a lot of time with my paternal family during the holidays, and I noticed Kathy was bringing up Cinderella's appearance at the party very frequently. She was reminiscing, showing pictures, and talking about what she'd do differently. She didn't talk to my kids about it much, but she did ask my daughter what theme she wanted for her party this year and how she'd feel if one of the characters showed up. I really don't want to have to deal with this surprise again, especially if it comes with no warning like last time. We're also throwing this year's party at a venue, not at home, meaning we have a time slot to abide by. My husband and I spoke to Kathy about our concerns. She didn't say she was planning on showing up in costume, but she kept insisting that if she did, the kids would love it and it could be fun. We tried to make her promise she wouldn't do it, but she kept dodging it and claiming she didn't see the problem. Finally, we told her it would be best that she didn't come at all. She can join us for the dinner we're having afterwards, but not the actual party. Now she's upset and my dad is angry at us. He firmly believes we're being paranoid and dramatic. I'm worried we're going too far, but I'm almost certain she is indeed planning on doing it again, and I don't want to risk having problems at the party. Am I the asshole? Before we get into a discussion about this, the verdict, as far as I could tell, was that OP was not the asshole. At least 98% of the comments I saw, maybe more than that, said that she wasn't the asshole. There were a few, very few outliers who said things like, she showed up and participated in the theme of the party? What a monster. No wonder she is insecure with a family like yours. And why can't she be included in the fun? Doesn't matter if she was recognized or not. I get you asked her not to, but why? I don't see the harm in allowing her to participate. Now, I will say I very much obviously disagree with other commenters who are focusing on this whole thing where women in their 40s and 50s shouldn't be dressing up in costume or dressing up as Cinderella or K-pop characters. How cringe. And I'm paraphrasing this a lot, but there were a ton of comments like that. However, in my opinion, if anyone is invited to a kid's birthday party and is told not to dress up, it's not your party. Please just abide by their request, order, whatever it is. What is your first opinion on this? Is OP an asshole for uninviting Kathy to the party because she believes that she's going to be dressing up?
Well, I just think this is one of those communication issues, but then again, that's probably just not a person you can communicate with. They're going to still do it. So, not the asshole, because you got to think about it, man. If it's like someone's party, little girl's party, bro, and you're going to show up dressed like that, you're going to be stealing all the attention that should be going to her. It's her birthday. You want to do some dress up shit, do it like fucking later with her. Take her out for ice cream and get dressed up or some shit, you know? But like, don't do it at the party, man. And especially if they're like asking you like not to, you shouldn't argue about that. Just, oh, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. And I don't know why somebody would be so like, you know, oh, like, oh, I have to do this, like whatever. If somebody told me not to, I'd feel embarrassed and be like, oh, fuck, I'm sorry, dude. Shit, I didn't realize I was stealing some thunder.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that I think it's fun that she did it, but also, I think they didn't know she was doing it, so they didn't originally tell her not to dress up as Cinderella, but it is weird that she showed up late and dressed up, and they have specifically told her, no, we don't want you to do this, but because she wouldn't agree outright to not dress up, they're like, okay, well, we don't want you there then. So not the asshole, because honestly, it's your kid, it's your party. If you're telling somebody not to do this, then just don't do it. So update number 1, 5 days after the original post. So January 10th, 2026, OP says, so I have a love-hate relationship with being right. By the way, I guess at some point, I don't know, it must have been in one of the comments or something because it wasn't in the original post, but at some point it was mentioned that the party theme for this year was K-pop Demon Hunters. So my dad called me 2 days after I posted on Reddit. There's a purple wig at his place that is styled suspiciously similar to Rumi from K-pop Demon Hunters. The dad opened his wife's mail thinking it was his and found the wig. The costume itself is set to arrive in about a week. And Kathy was not planning on telling the dad, the grandfather, about it either. So dad is claiming that him and Kathy fought because neither the costume nor the wig were cheap, but he also felt the need to tell me she'd been watching the movie repeatedly to study and that she cares so much, and that isn't it sweet how much Kathy loves my kids and maybe my daughter would like it this time. That was all I heard before I went to look for a pillow to scream into.
Yeah.
I'm done. This made me a lot angrier than it should have, but it isn't the first time someone in my family decides my plans and the efforts I put in don't mean shit. And if I can't even plan my own child's birthday party without someone trying to butt in, I don't have to feel bad about drawing the line. Kathy is officially banned from the party. My husband and I have alerted the venue that we didn't hire any character performers. And if any Caucasian-looking Korean pop star shows up, they must tell her to go home. We also gave them a picture of her. They basically told us they can't let anyone who's not on the guest list inside anyway, so she won't be allowed. I feel horrible about making them deal with my family drama, but at least that's one less thing to worry about. My dad and I did fight about this, but I put my foot down. He kept arguing that it wouldn't be a big deal if I just let Kathy have this. I told him that's not the point. If he's not the one who's going to have to manage the situation, he doesn't get to tell me how hard it is to do it. In the end, this is what we settled on. My dad can come to the birthday party as long as Kathy doesn't tag along. If she does, they're both out. Both of them can still join us for dinner later. I'm also thinking about lowering my contact with both my dad and Kathy. I love my dad, but no headache. It's worth this. I want to wait until I'm calmer to work out the details. I want to thank everyone. I've got a lot going on in my life and my therapist is on vacation, so it feels good to rant about this. But for my own sanity, I'm going to focus on relaxing for the next couple of weeks. I already feel much lighter knowing this is over. And just to touch on some comments before we talk about this a little more, the comments did not have much to say other than same as before. There were still a lot of people saying that OP was not the asshole. Still a couple of outliers saying she was making a big deal out of nothing. But also it seemed to me that at this point, a lot more commenters were calling calling out OP's dad for his part in all this. Rightfully so, maybe.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I think so. Because in the end, if this lady is trying to do this as a surprise to the child, why isn't she telling everybody else? It just seems like she's just trying to shock everybody. And it definitely seems to be a little more about her than anything else. And again, why are you going to steal the thunder of the little kid's fucking birthday, bro? Come on.
Well, don't worry, because there is a final update.
Oh, Lord.
About 1.5 months after the original post, February 24th, 2026. OP says, I said I wouldn't update again unless something happened, so you guys can probably guess why I'm back. This might get long. I'll go ahead and say nothing happened at the party itself. It happened on Saturday and everything was perfectly fine. My daughter loved it. The kids had fun and we had no problems with the venue. Kathy did not try to come, nor did my dad try to convince me to re-invite her. I had expected him to sulk through the party, but he actually did pretty well. And then we went to the birthday dinner.
Oh, no.
My dad and Kathy were running so late that the food arrived around the same time they did. Kathy was dressed as Rumi, wig and jacket. My dad was refusing to make eye contact with anyone, very obviously embarrassed. I mean, that's kind of, I hope he was embarrassed because his wife was doing a thing she shouldn't have been doing and not because she was dressed up, because the latter is rude, the former understandable. The kids saw them before we did. I knew there was a chance she'd come to the restaurant in costume, but I was more concerned she'd do it at the party. My husband and I had agreed that we wouldn't make a scene in front of the kids, but would step in if things got out of hand. It was very awkward. The kids, 5 in total, including my 3, mostly ignored her. They recognized Kathy and called her by her name, which upset her. They were also not amused by the way she kept trying to get their attention because she was trying to get them to interact with her while they were either talking to each other or trying to eat. I told Kathy to leave them alone when she started trying to pull my daughter's hand away from her food so she could get up and dance together. She sat there silent for a few minutes before leaving to go to the bathroom. Then she texted my dad that she wasn't feeling well and they left. In the end, they stayed for less than 20 minutes. People were staring, but that's not something I tend to care about. Besides the few times I cringed, Kathy asked the waitress if they had, oh my God, she asked the waitress if they had ramyun at Johnny Rockets.
Oh, God.
Nothing too chaotic happened. Still, I regret not telling her to leave. My husband handled bedtime that night, and our daughter asked him whether it was okay if she didn't like Kathy. She also asked my husband not to tell me that at first because she didn't want to upset me. This poor fucking kid. The 3 of us ended up talking on Sunday. Our daughter basically said she was upset that Kathy was bothering her and being pushy during the dinner, and she was worried that the kids at the table next to us were looking at her funny because of what was going on. This poor kid. I feel bad that she's worried about what other people think, but she's like 6, so I get it.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted and I feel like this shit happens way too often. It's perfectly fine for them to do what they want as long as I'm the one dealing with the consequences. More than anything, I refuse to let my children be treated this way too. I genuinely don't understand why Kathy insists on behaving like this, but I shouldn't have to worry about whether a grown woman will listen to me when I tell her not to do something at my child's party. A few hours after the talk with my daughter, the kids went out with my mom. I took the opportunity to call my dad and Kathy and told them she is no longer welcome at any of my children's events. We had an interesting argument during which Kathy said I had humiliated her when I told her to leave my daughter alone, and she couldn't understand why I was doing this when she was willing to go this far to make my kids happy. My dad and I talked again later that night without her. He was still defending Kathy, but admitted he was embarrassed when she insisted on wearing the costume. Apparently that was the reason they were late to the dinner. I told him my decision was final, and if he ever tried to bring Kathy to an event she isn't invited to, they would both be told to leave. We're not officially cutting ties, but my husband and I will be making an effort to spend less time with Kathy moving forward. That will probably include lowering our contact with my dad as well, but the more I think about it, the more I realize that might actually help our relationship. In the end, Kathy's shenanigans aside, my daughter really enjoyed her birthday. That's all that really matters. Again, just going to go through the comments real quick. I have some things to say and I'm entirely certain you do, but the comments again were basically like the same old, although I do have a couple comments that I did like in particular. One was, I find it shocking that OP's dad keeps insisting Kathy is doing this for the kids. This is clearly for her. Why can't she just go ham on Halloween or have a themed birthday party of her own? Like, damn, Kathy, chill out.
Yep.
I feel like that's a new damn Kathy, chill out.
Damn, Kathy.
uh, and also this next comment I loved for the fact that the playing out of the story kind of changed this person's original mindset on it.
Hmm.
They said, I have to say that going by your very first post, re Kathy dressing up as Cinderella towards the end of the party at home, I thought you were overreacting. Having read all of your posts and with the mention that people tend to interfere in your events, I can totally understand your annoyance, especially considering Kathy is not all there. I don't really love that wording, but not sure if it is her insecurity or her emotional immaturity or what the fuck, but she is too much. But she should be your dad's problem to handle, and he is apparently her doormat. She will mess up familial relationships for him if she hasn't already, aside from you. Kudos to you for setting boundaries. So yeah. Those are... I know that was a lot. It was a lot of updates and everything, which we don't usually have ones that are this long, but I was like in love with this because we're both cosplayers. I'm sure we both love the idea of, I've done stuff like that for my nieces and nephews where I've showed up at family events and stuff in costumes, but like, I wasn't taking the shine away from anybody else. I was just having fun. I would never show up at something without asking. If one of my sisters said, we're having an X themed party and I happened to have a costume for it. First of all, I would not go out and buy something specific. But second of all, I would be like, well, if I have something, would it be cool if I showed up? Granted, I think my sisters would be like, yes, that would be cool as fuck. But it's totally understandable that OP is like, no, I don't want that. That's their prerogative.
No, agreed, man. Again, she was definitely doing it more for her own ego or something. And again, dude, if you feel the need to like dress up, nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Get yourself some friends and throw a costume party. Go to a convention, do something, like you don't have to like steal the thunder of a 6-year-old kid's birthday. Why don't you just go do it for free somewhere or go do it somewhere else? I was like, oh yeah, this is what I do for a living. I dress up as characters, entertain, be like a birthday entertainer and go do it with some strangers. And then her showing up, at the restaurant as it's like, come on, that is cringe at that point.
Yeah, at that point, the party itself is over. They're just having dinner after the party. Yeah, my heart does go out to Kathy like a little bit because I feel like there is a part of her that just wants to do these things and this is the only time she feels she can. But girl, do some research. Like you said, go be a birthday performer. Go to convention.
Go to a convention. Exactly.
There are places you can go all out for that stuff and everybody, like people will appreciate it. And again, going back to the people who are like, people in their 40s and 50s shouldn't be dressing up like that.
Fuck you. I'll dress up as whatever till fucking forever. I don't give a shit.
I might not dress up as a teenage character or something now that I'm in my 40s. I probably wouldn't have done it in my 30s either, but I will dress up as Ellie from Jurassic Park for the rest of my life, even though Laura Dern was like in her early 30s when she did that movie. But yeah, that I thought that was a really interesting story, honestly. And I feel bad. I feel bad for the mom. But I do a little bit feel bad for Kathy, who clearly needs to understand boundaries.
It's just awkward, man. It's like, I'm way too shy to like do things like that without telling anybody. That is something I would have ran past those parents real quick. Like, oh, hey, I got a costume. If something you want to do, if not, no problem.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't I got to like protect myself too, because I don't want to walk in there feeling like I fucked up. And then I feel like I fucked up and then I'm dressed like fucking this. I'm like, yeah, this is not a good idea.
Yep, 100%. So yes, we are both behind the dressing up part, but only if it is okay with the people who you are dressing up for, which also apparently the daughter was like, this is awkward. I don't want this.
If the daughter's doing it, it's a problem.
Let's move on to what have we been watching lately?
So I finally finished Stargate Universe, and I'm just going to say it's an underrated show. And I know it's an underrated show because I also started watching Stargate Atlantis right afterwards. So Stargate Atlantis, I think, is like Jen's favorite, So he's like, okay, watch. Because I just made her watch this horror that was, Stargate Universe, like the dark Stargate, like it's the BSG of Stargate. So I was like, all right, yeah, like we watch it. And I still like it. It's good, but it's definitely a lot different. It's campier. I love the universe, and I think we're like a little bit into the ways of season 1 or whatnot. But aside from that, that's pretty much it, man. I've had a very small pocket of time to watch stuff. So when I go to her house, we'll generally like once the kid's in bed and we're just like, all right, we're going to watch a few episodes of this or whatnot.
Yeah, Dean and I have a very small pocket of time to watch things together right now. That should change pretty soon, but I still watch a lot of stuff on my own that is stuff that I don't think he would really care about. And usually if I start watching something and I think he would care about it, I'll stop and be like, no, let's go back to the beginning together. So what did I finish or continue watching from last month, or simply started and finished since we last recorded in February? Other than Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I have 2 shows that I finished and 2 shows that I'm still watching. Primal and The Pit, I'm still watching, so I'm sure I will have more to say about those in April. Things I finished watching, The Beauty, which continued to be weird and fucked up and ended on a cliffhanger where that was the show I mentioned where there's this drug that makes you like the most gorgeous person on earth, but it can also kill you. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Ryan Murphy, he does American Horror Story. It was something, and it ended on a huge cliffhanger, and I have not bothered to Google whether or not it was renewed for a second season, so I really hope it was. Well, I don't know. Maybe I hope it wasn't, because at this point, it's like so many things are canceled, and I don't know.
I hate that they don't give shows a chance.
They really don't.
They really
don't. And one of the things that I started watching and finished was Kindred. 1 season, ends on a pretty big cliffhanger. Googled to find out about the second season, saw it was canceled, immediately bought the book it was based on. A little bit more on that later. It is a book by Octavia E. Butler. She's written a ton of books, but the ones that I have been most interested in were The Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents, I think. It's a duology, and I've been wanting to read that for a long time. So when I found out that the show was based on a book, I just went ahead and bought the book when I found out it was canceled. So yeah, I'll get into the story on that when I talk about what I've been reading. Started watching Paradise on Hulu. It's like a post-apocalyptic show. I feel like they actually came out with the second season pretty quickly compared to, because I feel like Dean and I watched Paradise like a year ago. Maybe the second season is airing now. It's pretty good. It's basically like there's this apocalyptic event. It's a weather event originally that turns into, I think, more, but people who knew about it beforehand, rich billionaire people, built this giant underground bunker that makes it look like you're outside and stuff. So the first season was all about the bunker, and the second season, it's so far mostly about people who survived outside of the bunker. It's good. It's not amazing, but it's worth watching, especially if you like post-apocalyptic stuff. I also started watching Adventure Time again. I had watched most of the first season with Camden and Dean 2 years ago or more. I don't know. Dean was out of town for like most of, not last weekend, but the weekend before. And so Camden and I sat down and we watched like 2 seasons, the end of the first season, all of the second season, the start of the third season. Then we watched more of the third season together. So it's one of those shows where it's like, I've always wanted to watch it, but never really like got around to it. So that's been fun. And it's been especially fun to watch it with Camden. Like I could continue watching more of it on my own, but I like that Camden and I have something to watch together that we both enjoy. So liking Adventure Time a lot. And then in my usual like things I watched, because why not, nothing else, I was blowing through The Nanny, which we talked about last month, way too fast. And I wanted to save what was left of it for future darker times. So I put on the first season of American Horror Story. It's the Murder House season. I have seen seasons of American Horror Story, but previously I think I'd only seen Coven, which is season 3, I believe. Hotel, which is season 4, I think. Apocalypse, I don't remember what season that is, 8 or 9 maybe, and Delicate, which was the most recent season, which Delicate is terrible. Coven, Hotel, and Apocalypse were really good. Murder House was fine. The problem is like, I want to say it was an Apocalypse. They reveal a whole bunch of stuff that happened in Murder House. So like I already knew a bunch of the plot points from that season. And then I finished Murder House season 1. I tried to start season 2, which is Asylum. I could not. It was too much. And then I tried to go to, so I think it's Coven that's season 3, Hotel that's season 4, maybe. Whatever. The next season I hadn't seen was Freak Show, and I started trying to watch that, and I also couldn't deal with it. So I watched like an episode, maybe episode and a half of each of those. And then I went to the Roanoke. It's basically Murder House, but it's like a Roanoke vibe to it. So I've been watching that one. That one's fine. It's things I haven't seen that are, they're nothing special. They're fine. The Roanoke one reminds me very much of like the Conjuring movies, honestly. So that's probably why I'm like more into it than I was. Like Asylum was too dark. It was too fucking much. And I was like, I don't really want to watch Sarah Paulson having two heads immediately. So yeah. Have you been reading anything?
Have I been reading anything? No, I wish I did, but no, I don't think I've read anything.
No, this is always my section entirely.
Yeah, this is your section.
So physical books, I finished Cell by Stephen King, which I wanted to read because I thought it tied into the Dark Tower some, but it didn't really tie into the Dark Tower series like I was hoping it would. There was some mention of Dark Tower-esque things, kind of, but the book was still definitely something. I mean, I couldn't put it down. I wanted to know what happened, so it was at least a quick read. Then I read this book it's kind of like a cozy fantasy book. It's called Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. It was super cute. If anybody is looking for just a light read, especially if you love cats, you would love this book. And then I read Murderbot Diaries Volume 3. I've already talked about Volumes 1 and 2. I did still really like Volume 3, but it was not as good as Volumes 1 and 2. Yeah, that's just my opinion. And then per my mention of the show Kindred, I am currently reading Kindred. I'm actually like probably 3/4 of the way through it at this point. So what this book is, it's a time travel book, and the show obviously was the same. It's a time travel story where the main character is a Black woman, and the book was originally written in the 70s. So she's a Black woman married to a white man in the book. In the show, she's a Black woman who sort of starts dating a white man, but it's 2016 in the show versus 1976 in the book. The time travel portion is that she turns 26 and she starts getting sent back to the past. And she's being sent back to like 1813, I think is the first year she gets sent back to. So slavery. And she's basically being sent back to save the life of a white ancestor who is a slave owner. It is dark. The show was good. I actually am really sad that the show isn't going to get more seasons because as hard as it is to watch, it was a really well done show. Actually, one of the bad guys, like one of the slave owners, is played by Ryan. I'm not going to remember. He's played by the guy who plays Sookie's younger brother in the True Blood series, which I didn't know before I started watching it, but it's really weird to see him play this sort of character, honestly. But the book is good too, but it's not a light read, we'll put it that way. It delves a lot into not even the horrors of slavery, but also the horrors of people just kind of accepting the fact that they're slaves and the things they do because of that. It's a really good read. So anyway, audiobooks, I finished Rich Girl Nation, which I mentioned last month. Overall, it was fine. Like, that's all I'll say. A lot of it didn't really apply to me. It is very good financial advice, but I think it's very good financial advice for people who are making a lot of money and not realistic financial advice for our current times.
Yeah.
Even though it was just published like a year or so ago. I don't know. I also listened to this book called Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams, who used to work at Facebook. That was fucking interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Apparently she wasn't allowed to promote the book because of an NDA she signed, either when she started at Facebook or maybe while she was already working there, but she was still allowed to publish it. But she's also from New Zealand. So like, I'm wondering if she I don't know, because I didn't look it up, but maybe she moved back to New Zealand and they couldn't stop her from publishing it. It's really hard to, I mean, I guess if you're Facebook, you can sue people anywhere, but I don't know. She was able to publish it, but she wasn't able to promote it. Either way, it was a very interesting read.
I'm going to make note of this one, and I'm going to probably sit down and read this one.
Yeah, a lot of it is not surprising at all. But so Sarah Wynne Williams, she actually ended up in the United States originally because she was working for like a consulate or something. even though it was so recent that I listened to it, I can't remember exactly where she started working, but her whole thing was that she went to Facebook and was like, you guys need somebody who has my experience working in like diplomacy, essentially. I'm going to say, I don't want to spoil anything. You can probably read a lot of her story in like articles and stuff, I'm sure, if you really looked up. But I will say that it was very interesting to like hear the whole story. You'd be real scared to hear about the concessions that they gave to Facebook in China. And
oh yeah, no, so that shit don't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Oh, it didn't surprise me, but it was like, it didn't surprise me that they gave concessions, but it concerns and surprises me how much. I'll put it that way. For people who are living elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
So what have you been playing?
So I recently picked up, for some reason, I just busted out the Xbox 360 for some reason, because I was thinking about Mass Effect, and I was like, you know what? I want to play Mass Effect.
Because I mentioned it last month.
Did you? Okay,
yes,
maybe that's what it was.
I just finished editing this like a week or so ago. Yeah, I mentioned it kind of in passing. We were talking about games from the past like decade or so that had I guess it's more like 20 years or so that had really good stories, and Mass Effect was one of the ones I talked about.
So that apparently imprinted into my brain, and I didn't realize it, because that was like all I wanted to do. I was like, you know what, I should find I had to go through like my tub of video games that I haven't like touched in 10 years now, and I'm like, fuck, Mass Effect 2, because Mass Effect 2 was my favorite of all the Mass Effects. You know, like I like that one.
It was the best one, I think.
It was the best one. And damn, playing it again, I'm like, you know, bro, you don't have to have these amazing fucking graphics, even though those graphics were amazing at the time, you know, but now we're talking like 2 generations prior now to where we're at now. And I'm like, this game still holds fucking up, man. It just still looks awesome. You get to do awesome shit.
At Dragon Con 2022, I think, I did a game show. It was a Red Dead game show, but Mark Muir was one of the players on the game show, and he was great. He was hilarious.
Nice.
It was like him, and obviously 3 of the actors from Red Dead: Benjamin Byron Davis, who plays Dutch, Roger Clark, who plays Arthur, and Rob Weedhoff, who plays John Marston. And the 5th person on it was like a voice. He was just like a voice actor. And I don't mean to say just a voice actor. He's like a voiceover person. He didn't know anything about Red Dead. And Mark Muir didn't know very much, I don't think, from what I remember. But if you're listening to this and you want to find it on my podcast, just go back, circle late 2022 Geek Saga Podcast, and you'll find the recording of that game show. I wish I could have had video, because that shit was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's a fun listen, honestly, even as a podcast. I still haven't been able to play anything because of the eye. I have been watching Deem play a good bit of Fallout 4 still. Side note, I think that this section should also include board or card games if we ever play thaux, which I haven't yet. I haven't had the time or the people to play with, but I did order this game called Go Parade, GEAUX, Go Parade, which is a deck building card game based on New Orleans Mardi Gras. And I'm super excited about it. They tried to do a Kickstarter a little while back. I think it was sometime last year, maybe. And unfortunately, they didn't meet their Kickstarter goals, so they didn't get the money from it. But it's super cool that they were able to eventually figure things out and release the game anyway. But it's from Gentilly Games, GENTILLY Games, out of New Orleans. It was like $20. It's basically like you build a New Orleans. You build a Mardi Gras parade, essentially. And, you know, it's just a little deck building card game. It says it's for like 3 to 4 players. You could probably play with more, but it's like a 15 to 20 minute game. So I can't wait to play it. Have you been listening to anything?
What have I been listening to this month? You know, I've been listening to a lot of kind of folky stuff after I got through Stargate Universe. Stargate Universe has a really good soundtrack that I just didn't realize, you know, or I just forgot about. And then I noticed that I had a playlist on here on my Spotify for many of years, and I couldn't remember for the life of me where I got any of these songs, but I made the playlist and I'm like, I don't even remember where the hell I got all these songs. And then watching Stargate Universe, I was like, oh, it's 90% Stargate Universe here. So I must have been adding it as I was watching it and being like, oh, that's an interesting song. I'll listen to that. So I didn't even realize that I made my own playlist like that. So I've been listening to just stuff like that. And then the same stuff. And I've been listening to a little Beastie Boys also. But
know, Beastie
That's
Boys,
about
old
it.
school.
Old school, baby. Yep.
I'm still just kind of listening to like Reddit stories videos because they're usually the perfect length for me to listen to while I'm doing simple chores and stuff. Also, though, I will say, check out the artist Madeline. It might be Madeline. I'm not sure how she pronounces it. Madelline. I found her because Facebook Reels fed me one of her behind the scenes shorts on one of her music videos that had cats in it. And I am really liking her songs. Like the music is upbeat, pretty great lyrics that are really fitting for the times. So I very highly suggest, like I literally created a playlist just from some of her songs that I like. I haven't listened to all of them yet, but I started creating a playlist that has like a few of her songs on it, and they're really fun. Really fun. She's really talented.
Interesting.
I like her a lot. I'm hoping she doesn't turn out to be problematic at some point because I've really been enjoying.
They all do. I feel like there's just an expiration date on anything that we like now because something is going to come up, something is going to happen, something's going to get ruined.
But she's young, and like the video, the BTS video, or short or reel or whatever it was that was fed to me on Facebook was like her singing about how like, oh, they tell me I'm going to be an old cat lady as if that's something bad. And I was like, yes. Yes. And then I listened to a couple of her other songs. And I was like, oh no, I love everything you're having to say so far, girl. Give me more. So very, very highly suggest checking her out if you haven't heard of her before. All right, conclusion. Upcoming events or things we're excited about. What about you, Manny? Anything fun?
Anything fun? No. The next 2 months are going to be the next 2 months of hell for me is what it's going to be. It's a good way because it's pushing my life forward, but it's the battle you have to go before the peace. This is kind of like the final battle, the last boss of this era for me. But then once it's done, it'll be great. That's about the only thing I have kind of going on right now.
For me, kind of same as last month. I am glad to be done with weekly recording and editing for a bit, but going to Disney.
That's awesome, man.
Next week. So by the time this comes out as a podcast, I will have already gone. I haven't been since November 2021, which I honestly think is the longest it's ever been for me for a Disney trip. I have a lot of friends who still work for Disney, or maybe not a lot. I still have a handful of friends who work for Disney, but back in like the early 2000s and even the 2010s, 2018s, whatever you want to call it, like I had a lot of friends who work for Disney, so I could go and get big discounts on hotel rooms through them and sometimes even free passes. Then I lived in Florida for a bit and I had an annual pass because I was a Florida resident. It was a lot more affordable back then, even than it is now.
Yeah. The last time I went to Disney was 1993.
Oh my God.
That was the last time. There was only 3 theme parks. And then check this out, dude. We got all 3 theme parks for the day for $20.
Yeah.
That was it. And there was a bus that would take you back and forth. Yep. And it would just take you back and forth, man. And that was an adventure. I've always liked Disney. It's not like I haven't gone because I just never got around to ever going back again, honestly. And like even to this day, like I want to go back one day. I want to take my kids, even though they're practically turning into adults now, but I think it'd be fun, to like go and like get to experience that. My favorite thing in Disney was always the night parade. When they do the parade at night, that was my absolute favorite, man. One day I'm gonna go back.
Yeah, I miss doing the races, and I definitely hope that I can go back and do not this year, almost certainly, but maybe next year I can go back and do one of the races again because I do miss doing that because the races are super fun. Dean and Camden have never been to Disney World, so I am very excited to take them.
Nice.
And also we're going with my whole family and a lot of my nieces and nephews. They were so young the last time we went that they don't remember it. My youngest nephew wasn't even born the last time we went. Obviously, my youngest niece, who's younger than Noah, wasn't, and they're both way old enough to remember it. So yeah, I'm super excited about that, and also but like you, I'm also kind of in this weird like limbo phase in terms of like where we're living, what's going to happen next, and so that's going to be a lot of the next couple months. I am very excited to get kind of resettled in a place where I have my own room to podcast in, and I can shut a door and not have, maybe not never have barking dogs, but all the other background noises and all that kind of stuff. So that's about it for me. Most of that probably won't come to fruition before we podcast for State of the Saga in April. We have plenty of backlog to put out podcasts regularly. It's still a little hard for me to, when I have to stare at a screen for work all day, to also stare at a screen for a podcast.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
As we close out the episode, we once again want to give a huge thanks to our patrons for their support. Make sure to check out our other Geek Saga show series, including Media That Made Us, 90s and Naughties Cringe Factor, the impulsive hyper-focused solo episodes, and more. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, or rate us 5 stars wherever you're watching or listening. And as always, pretty please consider supporting us by backing our Patreon at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.